Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Jersey, and today I'm so excited to bring this build video that it was a collab with Moxie. Yes, the island that I'm on, this is Moxie's island. And if you guys didn't see the stream, it's gonna be linked in the description. You guys gotta watch the stream. We had so much fun. And the conversation, just everything that we went through to make this build possible, it was just amazing. So guys, you guys gotta check out Moxie. Check out the link in the description so you can see the whole stream. Thank you for everyone that came, participated, chat. We just had a great time just seeing everybody there, giving their opinions, helping us out the best way that they could. And then guys, this is our blank canvas right here. You see that little square in the back? That's where everything will start. That was my mark. You know, I came a little bit before, we did some measurement, just trying to find the right place where we want to start. And one of the things that we're going to talk about as we build this museum, this area, is that you're going to see, especially the museum, it's going to be moved about 4 to 5 times. And that's something that I want you guys to always remember, you know, is to get the build right. Don't ever be afraid to move the buildings, to keep moving them, to keep adjusting, because that's part of designing, that's part of building. And we're gonna see that happens here. Another thing that I wanna give big thanks to Moxie is that she let me come in, she let me design, and she let me be so creative. You know, I know it's scary sometimes, especially even for me, coming into a new place to build something, especially on stream, because the pressure is on, it's real, people are watching, you know, it's like, can I do it right, can I do it wrong, is it gonna come out wrong? And you never know, right? But I felt so creative, you know, like I gave her the ideas. I had 2 designs, you know, we've been talking, I knew it was so good, we were gonna do something for the museum. And when I came here, I gave her a couple ideas that I had 2 designs in my mind that I've been kind of practicing in my own island to bring it here off camera, you know, so I could be mentally prepared. And the most exciting part for me was that she decided in the more creative one, you know, the one that it could have gone all wrong and not look good at all, but that's the design, the idea that she liked the most. So basically the idea is we're gonna bring this museum to a higher level, what I call my second tier. So second tier usually is like 4 high, right? And then if I call it a third tier, then we go another 4 high. Usually that's how I kind of base my tiers, and then anything in between is just different levels. And she liked that idea. So the idea is we're gonna raise the museum from where you see the guy walking right there. That's where originally we were gonna do this little like reflecting pool, but now the reflecting pool is gonna have like all these waterfalls, like waterfall fountains coming in from the sides, and then we're gonna have 2 stairs kind of where we're standing. They're gonna go up to the side, and then that's the walkway, right? So there's only one way in and out of the museum, you know, because the museum is elevated, so we always gotta come through the entrance. So that was part of the idea, that's part of the design. Now to make it happen, to make it work, I did a little bit of practice, you know, and I gathered materials for the last 2 weeks. I've been gathering materials just so I can bring them to the island, so I can have it all set. I brought all my extra resources just to have. Moxie did the same thing. She was collecting through the past 2 weeks so we can be ready for this build. Then we gathered all the materials, put them all together, and we just went at it. So okay, so the first part of this build, the most important part, is kind of placing the museum and kind of make a center so we know where everything else is gonna branch out from there. So that was the most important. So I got it. But like I stated earlier, we're gonna move the museum 4 to 5 times because we want that space. We want to feel like we have a little walkway, and you're gonna see why. You're gonna see why we push it back, and I'll try to explain it. Why some things I went a little bit more forward, because we didn't want to push the museum back. So it was just a plain thing, you know, is just to get everything right. Okay, so now what you see me doing right there in the front, and I put those 2 water beds right there because that's the first waterfall fountain, you know, that we're gonna put into this build. So I needed to see if that was gonna fall center. That it did. It felt perfectly center to the museum. Then we're gonna leave a space, and then we're gonna do 2 more on one side, leave another space, and we're gonna do 2 more on the other side. And that slowly is creating the spacing that I see, that I need, you know. the way that I want this to flow. And we're gonna do the same thing on all the long sides. So once I kind of have the vision that I wanted, the way it's gonna work, then I gotta work on this corner right here. So in this corner, I was trying to decide and how big of a corner I'm gonna make this. So the most important about that is how big are gonna be your pathing that's gonna go in front of the museum. So during the stream, I was asking Moxie, are you gonna keep everything 2? Are you gonna go 3? Are you gonna go 4? You know, the space of the passing. So right here, we're testing with 3. She wants to keep everything 3, just like she has in the rest of the island. So that was very important to me, because once I know that, then I know how we're gonna shape the curves. But this is when I first noticed, okay, we're gonna do 3. So this is gonna be too close to the water beds, because I want a little bit of spacing so we can put maybe a little fence. And the idea that I have is to have a little bit of like greenery also next to the water beds. So I knew I already needed to scoot this one forward. So this is not yet when we're gonna move the museum, because at first I'm like, oh, I can still save this. We still got the museum where we want it. And so we're just gonna move the water beds just one forward, fill this up, and then we got that little extra space. But I didn't realize once we get the museum built, then you notice it's too close to the museum, right? The 3-step. You want, at least for me, and my style is, I want 1 square always in front of the building, any building, at least 1 square minimum. So if your row is 3, then imagine 1 more square free, because that's either gonna be for your steps, for your sidewalk, or for anything. It just gives it a little breathing room, that it makes it feel that it's not just right there, right next to it. But like always, if you prefer your building be right in front of your pathing, that's completely fine. Like this is just my style. And if you watch the stream, and I recommend you watch the stream because it was so much fun, you're gonna see me all the time asking Moxie what she likes, because to me the most important part when I come and I do collabs and I come to these places, and we're gonna, and you know, and it's great that they let me be so creative, but I want to build something that is gonna be very, very important, that they like it. You know, it's not just, oh, this is a Jersey build, this is Jersey credit, so I don't want to touch, I don't want to give any input. No, I'm always asking her input in all this decision, because you know, Moxie has a taste that makes her Moxie, that makes her her own, you know. And I want that to also be in this build, not just all me, but I want her taste, her scenario, her items, what she prefers the most, to also be part of this build. Because at the very end, this is not my island. I'm gonna leave, and then I'm gonna go to my island where everything that I see makes me happy. And I want everything that we do here, something that when Moxie comes here, she's always gonna be happy, that she feels very happy when she walks it. And then at the end, she always can readjust, add, take out, she can change 3, and that's something that in every collab, in every area that I'm gonna go slowly, because this is something that I wanna keep doing. I wanna keep working with more creators, and then one day I want to branch out and work with you guys, normal people, you know, the normal you guys are watching, and maybe go there and help you guys out, you know, as the channel keeps growing, and as I get the time to do more of that, I want to make time for you guys, for me to go to have fun and just be creative, you know, because I think it's gonna be super fun just to do that. But okay, so here we are. So I made the lengths, as you saw it. I used the tape measure. I knew exactly how long I wanted to be to make this happen. So and then we're gonna do the same thing that we did in the front of the museum. So we're gonna do every 3 spaces, right? So you're gonna have 2 water beds and then a space that's elevated, 2 water beds and a space elevated, because I knew I was gonna put some type of greenery, a bush, a plant, something. Could have been flowers, could have been just anything. I wasn't sure just yet, but I knew the vision that I wanted to be, and what was gonna be in there. So and that's why you see the alternating spaces on the build. And then you still don't see it yet, but the waterfall is gonna fill this area. But I already marked how length of the pond, the pool area that's gonna be. So that's part of it. Then the other thing that was very important before we get too far, right, is making sure that we have the stairs in a specific side. So and the great thing about this collab is, like, as I'm designing and doing the dirt, and I'm doing one side, Moxie is duplicating everything that I'm doing on the opposite side, and it was such great help. And this is why this build was, we were able to finish it in basically one day, right? Because if I had to do everything myself, it would have taken at least 2 days for sure. And I don't work usually when I work on my videos and work on my islands. I work in maybe an hour, hour and a half, maybe sometimes 2 hours, and then I take a break. I need a breather room and then come back to it. So usually I work in 2 to 3 days to make a video, to make a build, right? And usually that's my process. So working here with Moxie in one stream, one time, just trying to get almost all done. And this is why I also came prepared. You know, I did a test run in my islands. You know, I do a lot of ideas, you know, and I cannot put all my ideas in my islands. Well, when I'm trying to decide what video I'm gonna make, I do make ideas. So when I came here, I was already mentally prepared, knowing kind of what I wanted to do. So I didn't want to waste too much time, right? And that's part of being my creative process. I want to be prepared. I want to know what I'm gonna do. So it's not just me standing there and try to decide on what to do. But having Moxie helping out, making materials when we needed it, because I brought items to help out. She already made some items, but then there were other items that we needed. So having her running back and forth, getting everything that we needed so we can keep going, it was just amazing. So here I'm aligning some of the stuff that I for Moxie can keep filling with the dirt printer on the side. So we're working on the kind of on the walkway on this side, and then as she's doing that is so much help. I'm working in this pond, this middle pool area right here. So as Moxie's working on the side, I'm working here, and then once I get to a point that I feel confident, then I call Moxie, and then Moxie comes in, and then she looks at it, and I want to make sure that she likes what she sees. So the idea originally in the pond area, in this pool area, as the waters are gonna fall, it's gonna be filling this area with water, right? It's just kind of like it keeps rotating. So you gotta imagine like the water's being drained, circling back, and then just keep falling back, right? It's just kind of like, that's why I call it like a waterfall fountain, because that's what I'm trying to kind of replicate here. It's just a humongous fountain, the water's going somewhere, and then just keep spilling back and forth. So, and that's the idea. So, and the other idea that I had, I was gonna put more statues down here, kind of like what I did with my bandstand, you know? In my bandstand build, I put all the new statues in those little side of the water in the bandstand area. So I kind of wanted to replicate that feeling in here. So, and as we get closer here, you're gonna see that at first we tried to make it work, but then the idea evolved because it wasn't looking as good as I wanted, and then we did some changes. So now right here is the reason we took this down is we were off by 1 square. We needed to go 1 more square out, so because if you look at it, one side was not even compared with the other. It was just a trickery of the eye. It made it look like it was even, but it also made it look like it was off. So, but by fixing it, it took us a moment. If you watch the stream, you hear us talking about it. We were trying to figure out, because you can feel like there's something off, that there's something wrong in this area, and I could not make it work. And that's why you see the character going back and forth. Like, where is it that something is not aligning? Like, I got one side longer than the other. You can tell right here. And once we took everything out, and then I noticed it. Oh, I had to go 1 more square, but towards the left, towards that side. And once we did that, and then realign the bushes, the hibiscus, and lighting them up, then everything now is feeling the right way. Now we clean the seat, and now watch this. Now everything is the way it's supposed to be. Now when you're looking at it, you're like, oh, okay, visually we got it right. So now we gotta fix the stairs, we gotta fix all of this, just push up 1 more square, and then everything works out great. And that's another thing, you know, designing. Sometimes you make mistakes, you know, and it's gonna happen, you know. We try to do our best, we try to get it all right in the first time, right? But sometimes we do just do a little bit of mistake. But by the one thing that I want you always to remember is that it's always good to take things down. Don't be afraid. Don't ever be afraid to having to redo something. You know, I know I have help in this stream. It was great because this is something that I would have had to do myself, and this is why sometimes in my work process, the build can take a long time, you know, and I work in, you know, it takes me 2-3 days to do a build video normally. And normally they do average around 4 to 5 hours of like build time, and then we edit and we kind of compress, and then they come out to be 40 minutes, 50 minutes, you know. But that's why it's important, you know. If I do feel like always, and I try to always emphasize that if you want to make something amazing and great, you know, and don't be afraid to just go the extra mile and take it down, you know. I know it's hard work. I know it could be a little bit annoying, you know, and you're like, oh, I just did this, maybe I'll leave it like that, it's okay. But you know, it's always good to take that extra time. There's no a hurry to finish a build. I want you also to understand that is you don't have to finish a build in one day. Take your time, enjoy the journey of the creating process. You know, have fun with it, and as you're doing that journey and you take your time on it, ideas are gonna keep evolving as you're doing it, and then you may get even better idea as you're progressing your build. Okay, so here we are. You see Moxie, she's still filling up the workway, because the way this build works, right? You gotta get the middle right. If you do too much too fast and you try to outline everything, right? Like you want to outline the whole walkway, the whole outside, then we would have to do so much rework when we notice we're off by one. So this is why during the stream some people were asking, oh, why is we're gonna just have like the marble just a wall. But the one thing that I was trying to explain during the stream is that no, we're working slowly, we're working in stages. We gotta get the middle, then we gotta get the walkways right, and then we're gonna expand out again about 3 to 4 more squares, and then we're gonna make everything feel finished, right? But if I start making the outline right away, and imagine we had that one mistake, you know how much dirt we would have to move and to take and to expand and then take all the tiles. It will take more time. So my recommendation, as you're watching this build, as you're working in your process, you know, work on what's most important. If your center is the most important element, work on that, get it right, and then slowly expand. Don't worry about how big this build is gonna be at first. You have an idea, you know, you can do calculations, that way you can kind of work in the space that you have. But the most important part is work on what's gonna be the center, the main focus of your build. That's the most important. Get that right and then slowly expand towards the side. Or if you're working from the side towards the middle, then work on your side first and then expand towards the middle and then towards the other side. Or if you're putting something in the center, kind of like when I did my bandstand build, my center is the bandstand. Then I work from the center of the bandstand, working my way around it. So and that's the process, you know. Don't go too fast. Don't try to do too much. Don't try to create the whole outline, because if you're off by 1-2 square, it's gonna be more work. So okay, so as you've been seeing, we are just now working on our walkway path that are going to be leading towards the museum, because this build is high, right? It's in a second level, and that's part of the main thing of this build is the grandeur. It's like, whoa, when you get to this point of the island and you're walking your island, you're doing your thing, and you go, okay, let's go to the museum. You know, part of the feel, because when I was talking with Moxie and we were going back and forth, she wanted it to feel elegant, you know. But she likes nature. She likes all these trees and the greenery, and that was something important, you know. And you can hear it in chat. During the stream, I was talking. I want to make sure, like, because I'm adding all this extra greenery because I feel that's something she would like. So I wanted to make sure that that's something that she was gonna enjoy and like, or maybe she wanted more marble and more elegance. But she likes all the extra flower, all the extra greenery. So that's what we were heading, and that's what we were gonna do, and that's what you're seeing that we're doing. So we're adding marble for that elegance look to it. But then we have more greenery around it. So I'm trying to explain it the best way that I can, but it's kind of like both. It's very elegant, but more heavy on the nature. So for this build, it's not just all marble or elegance and all of that, but we are using marble elements to bring that elegance into this area. And I think that whole combination worked out really great. So another decision that we needed to make is the pathway. So there was two routes to go, because part of the inspiration that she liked was from my lily pond bill. But my lily pond bill, my edging was made out of marble. The main path was made with the mossy green path, right? So we needed to see it to see which one Moxie would prefer. So we did two tests. One side, as you can see this side over here, we got the edging made with the green mossy path, and then the main path is marble. And then on the other side, we did the opposite, half and half. We did the edging with marble and the green mossy path as the main path. And then as she viewed both of them, she decided that she liked more, because, and I think it does make sense. In my lily pond garden, it was a garden, it was a lily pond garden, right? There's no building, there's nothing, it's just that. So I think it worked out great, me having the mossy path as the main path and the border of the pond being marble. But now in the museum area, I think Moxie had made the right choice, that to go with the marble pathing and the edging to make it the mossy path. And I think that combination worked out beautifully. I think it's just, it brought more white into the bill. With the edging, it's gonna be green, and it just, that combination, it just looks just right for this bill. It just came out, you know, I couldn't have done a better choice. I think she did so good making some of these decisions, because this is, like I stated, this is her island, and I want her 100% to be really happy how everything was going. So to me, those big important details were really important when it comes to Moxie. So once we made that decision, that's what we did. And then slowly we're gonna start taking out all the green that she's adding right there, because once she make up her mind, we're gonna go back the other way. So, and as we're doing that, and it's great, this whole partnership and collabing and working together and hearing her also thinking and making her decision and getting to understand Moxie, what she likes best, how her taste compared with my taste is fun. It's fun to hear that. It's fun to listen how her process and everything that she's doing works. So okay, so the next thing is on these areas right here, like I mentioned before, I knew I wanted to put some type of bush or flower or plant or something in between the waterfall. So we're gonna go with the lily seed, but the small one. They're gonna grow up, and it's gonna get this moment of elegance into the bill that is gonna look really good. So the other thing that I wanted to, we know we're gonna add some lighting into this area, right? Because we need light. And she has had so many, she's been collecting so many of these stone lamps. So we wanted to see, so at first I wanted to see how it was gonna look if I put it in every spot behind the bush, but it was way overwhelming, and Moxie agreed with me. It was way too much, you know, that idea that I had was not gonna work. So we made it more subtle, a little more minimum, and we added just 4. So 4 in each corner, and then we looked at it, I think it feels good, and then the next step was, what kind of fence? I knew I wanted a fence in this area, but now that we're using the stone lamp, the marble fence wasn't fitting just right. I just wasn't liking it. It wasn't giving me the look that I want, especially now that we're using a little more of the stone lamps. So what ended up happening, we are using the iron fence, and I think that looks great. You can see right through it. So, and then we did, like always, we did 2 tests. If you look at it, one side has more of the hedges and less of the iron, and the other side has more iron and then one of the hedges, and then we alternated, right? And I wanted Moxie to pick which one she liked. At first, if you're watching the stream, she likes both, but I think at the end we both came to the conclusion that it looks really good having the iron in front of the water, and then you can see through it. And I think that being able to see through it made the bill flow. It made it feel a little more open. And once we made that decision, we were happy, and we're like, okay, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do what we have on that side, and it made the bill really stand out. So the next thing that I noticed is that the stone lamps, they were just a little too low now. You know, they were kind of the same height as the fence, and I kind of wanted them to stand up, you know, kind of stand out a little bit more, a little bit higher. So what we did, we raised them. But by raising them, then I noticed that it looks really off in the stairs. So what we did is we're gonna add another one into the stairs. So now we have 6 lamps. But I think that combination looked good. Moxie approved once again, because, you know, I'm making changes as we going. Sometimes now a lot of this stuff we were evolving the idea as it went. You know, the main idea, the main design, the main layout is kind of done, right? There's the build, there's the layout, there's the idea. But now as we are filling up the area to make it feel more alive, more real, more beautiful, more elegant, the ideas are evolving, and I need to make sure and to Moxie is liking this and liking that and liking the approach, you know. And some of her inputs were really good too, you know, because there were some couple of times that I wasn't thinking of that, and then I was like, oh, that's a good idea, Moxie, and let's go ahead and then do those changes, you know. And to me that was so important because at the end, like I mentioned before, this is her island. When she comes over here, I want her to feel like just so happy, you know. And at the end, she's free to change, to add, to do something different as much as you want. So the other great thing is that this area is the same level as the water, so that was so good. So that is gonna save us so many water beds that we have created, so we can get all these water beds back because we can bring real water to fill up this area. And that's great, you know, because, you know, water beds are, you know, you gotta find pearls, you gotta do all that work. And by bringing real water, if you're in this level, then we gain all these water beds back. But the good thing is, by having the water beds, we were able to test. That way you don't have to do all this work, bringing all this water, and then if you don't like it, then you gotta fill it back up. So it's always a win-win scenario when you're working with water beds. And like I always say, if in the ground floor, you can always bring your real water, it's gonna save you so many material. Okay, so the other thing is, here's when we start working with the statues, right? And I wanted to recreate the feeling that I did in my bandstand, right? But this area, you know, as you can see, is sunk down, right? The water's falling down and it's falling in. So I could not make it feel something that I was gonna like. She started to like the idea. Moxie is like, oh, I like this and I like that. But having them a little low, it wasn't just working. So when I wanted to raise it, then it looked a little too high. And then we figured, okay, so maybe the dog ones need to be on the back, and then the Crocs need to be on the front. And as we're working on this and just trying to come up with this idea and in this build, and you see it right here, right? We're going back and forth. During the live chat, we're talking design, right? And it was so fun to talk with Moxie about that, you know, and trying to make a decision and see what looks better now. But then as we're doing this, then another idea came, and I was like, you know what? Maybe we just keep the Croc statues down here, alternate them like this, like the way I put them. Take out the dog statues completely, and then put the dog statues in the top, kind of in front of the museum. So that was the next test that we were gonna do, and once we did that, it came out great. You know, this design that we did right here, it actually doesn't look too bad. And you know, as I'm watching the replay now, and if we would have grabbed that crocodile statue and make it bring a little more to the front, so it's not just in front of the doggo, it would have worked out great. I think this design, I think having the level like this and being able to see the dog statues just aligned like that, it worked out great. But here is when I had the other idea. I was like, you know what, if I put dog statues up here? So before taking them down from down there, I was like, let me test it out, see how that looks, see how it visually, you know, it when we're looking at it as we're walking in, does it feel good, does it not look good? So, and that was the next step. So what I did is I raised one high, and then the other one I raised it too high, because I do feel like having statues too high, it feels right for the character's level and height. But it also could be subjective, because it will always be depending on the build that you're working on. You know, you may want it just same high level, but I do feel like having this marble pedestal where we're putting it's just having it too high looks really good. And I knew that bush in front of it was gonna grow and fill that area more. But once we did that, Moxie loved it. She liked the idea. But then the next thing that happened came, and it's like, we need to raise the museum. The museum will have to go higher. So that's the next thing that we are going to be working on. Is we like the statues, but the statue is blocking too much of the museum. So as you can see, we went ahead and moved the museum, but we're going to continue working throughout the day. So we're going to expand this area. We're going to raise the doggo statues to the right level that we need, and and then we're gonna figure out how high the stairs we wanna go. At the same time, we knew we needed now to go push the museum another square back. And this is when it became really fun, because in chat we were talking, we're like, oh no, it's like Fletch is making the money now today, because we just kept going back and forth, pushing the building one more back, and then we did it again. After this one, we had to push it again one more back, because you know, as sometimes as you're moving and you're adjusting, you can't figure everything out, you know. But it's always better to do this work, what we're doing, just hey, let's make it look right, let's push it back, let's get the space that we need. And that's what we kept doing, you know, because at one point we put it here, we pulled the building, but then I noticed that the stairs were just right in front of the museum, and you didn't have that breathing room, you know, like I mentioned earlier. And something that I should have catch on, but I didn't think of it, because for me, I always like to have one square before my pathing or sidewalk from the building, right? That's something that I like. I just feel like it gives it that extra breathing room, that it makes it feel a little more natural, right? Just having that little extra space in the front. But I didn't think about that, and as we put it here, once we get the building back, then I'm like, and then I left it up to Moxie, because she may like the stair leading right into the museum, but she ended up liking my idea, so we ended up moving it again. So that's something that's gonna happen. So, but yeah, but that's part of designing. That's part of the process. That's part of why sometimes the builds they could take a long time, and that's why I always encourage you not to worry about how long a build's gonna take. Don't worry about making it so fast and trying to get a build done in 1 or 2 days. Take your time, enjoy the journey, take breaks in between the builds, because taking breaks is important. You come with your mind refreshed. So here we are, we moved the building, it's the next day, and then it's looking good. We got it on the right height, it feels really good. You see how those statues kind of cover part of the windows, but it's kind of like in the perfect height, the perfect spot, and I loved it. So, but then later on, we noticed that we need a little bit of more breathing room, approved by Moxie, and then we go ahead and push the museum one back. But then we're gonna start filling up this area slowly again, and that's the next stage. It's just slowly you working, and that's something that I want you guys to see in the video. Everything is worked by stages. That's why I feel like it's always important not to make the whole outline right away, not to say my build is gonna start right here and it's gonna end right here, because this is what happens, you know. Now, if you're working in a constrained space, that I done it, you know, if you guys have watched some of my videos, my boardwalk, my city plaza build, those builds were meant to be built in this particular space. I only have so much space. I can't go this way, and I can't expand this. So when you work like that, then yeah, but then you gotta work it until you get a good flow, and that's a whole different type of challenge. But here we had an open canvas. She said that we can go back as far as we need to. We can go over the river if we need to. We have to take some water. We can go as far to the side as we need to. So, and it's great because having that open canvas as you're working, then you have the freedom to adjust, to just shift the area, move this piece over here, move it over here, or sometimes you need to try things out, you know. And that's something that I wanted you guys to see on this video, and for me to talk about, is sometimes you gotta do the work twice, right? And in this build, it was nice that we have two halves, right? So on one half we can test one type of design, the other half we can test another type of design, and then you guys can view it. Sometimes you don't have the ability to do that, so you gotta do it, take a screenshot, and then if you have another idea, redo it again, take a screenshot, and then look at it side to side and see which one you like the most. Most of the time when I work like that and I have to make a decision, I don't make it on the spot. I wait maybe a couple hours, come back to it. Once my mind is clear, then I can look at it. Then I can have a brand new mindset when I'm looking at the screenshots to see which one I like the most. Sometimes I do it then the following day, because those decisions, those particular decisions, sometimes they're very important. And when you're tired, when you're in the spot, and if it's something like that, you know, you may feel like you need to make it right now, the decision, so you can keep working. And that's fine too if you're confident. But if you're not confident, take your time. Like I said, take a day, take a couple hours, come back, do something else, then look at the pictures, refresh, then you can make your decision. And I think that's important, you know. I had the opportunity that I'm working with Moxie, and this is for Moxie, so and in a way she had to make the decisions, not me. So that part was nice, you know. I'm here to put my design and my ideas together, but those finer details at the end, they kind of fall into Moxie's plate, and she had to do the hard choice of what decisions she wanted to make. So okay, so here is when you see, I was like, oh no, for my style, I'm like, I need one more square of reading room. I just like, I talked with Moxie, I show her, I think she ends up coming over here, we start deciding to see if that's worth it, that she likes it, and all of that. You can hear all that conversation during the stream. Again, you know, we a lot of the times I'm talking about design, and another way to talk about designing in stream. So kind of some of the same advice that I'm giving here, I give it there. Maybe they sound a little bit different. You can hear Moxie's point of view too, that I think is very important, very valuable, because some other people think like Moxie, and other people have that style that Moxie has. So I think that's also important. So like I said, the stream is gonna be linked in the description, because I think you guys will enjoy it. If you just need to put something in the background for a long time as you're working in the house, I think you guys will enjoy it. You guys will have fun. It was a fun stream to be part of. But okay, so as we're making those decisions, Moxie came, Moxie looked at it. I know Moxie now went to get a new deed, because we're gonna keep expanding this, we're gonna keep moving this, we're gonna push it again, one more back. So the next idea is, okay, so the idea to finish this build, you know, we are up high, you can see everything around it, but what you see around it is nothing just yet. Moxie hasn't developed much around it, and she doesn't know what exactly she's gonna build yet. So my idea is, we had two options, right? When it's gonna come, what we're gonna do around the build is either we're gonna leave it open, so if you can have kind of like a viewing pleasure, just viewing scenario of what's around the build area. But since right now there's nothing to view and nothing just to enjoy, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a tree line eventually, and that's what's gonna fence in this area. So when you come in this area and you're gonna go up the stair, it feels like you're secluded, right? It feels like it's just one build in one area, and it's just closed up right there, and that's gonna look really good. And once we get there, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun explaining why we make those choices, and then once they grow, you're gonna see why we make that choice. But then that was important, because I needed to know that scenario, because either back here where I'm working on right now, it's gonna connect part to that tree line. It's gonna make that little arch that's gonna go from the back of the museum, curve in, and then it's gonna go straight. But if she made another choice, then the design of the back of the museum would have been different. We would have had to figure out, okay, if she doesn't like the tree line idea, it's going to be an open view, then we were going to work with fences, bushes, just something else that would have been different. And then the outline of the back to close off this area would have been different. So that's why during the stream, we're talking about what's the next approach, because I needed to know that. That's something important, and that's what sometimes planning in builds, you know, you can build on the spot. Many people do it, they do an incredible job. I'm not good at it as well, to just be in the moment and build like that. I usually gotta have a little bit of idea, a little bit of a direction, so I know what I'm doing, especially like this, when I come into places, when I'm in my own island, in my own place. You know, if I want to stand for half hour, 40 minutes just looking at dirt, then yeah, because sometimes I do that, you know, it happens, you know, you just a little blocked off and you don't know exactly how to start the build or how to approach it. But when I come to places like this, when we're doing that collab, when I'm helping somebody else out, or, you know, bringing ideas, you know, to me, it's important to have a little bit of direction, so we can talk, so we can figure things out, so we can have the right approach. And to me, that's always going to be very important, you know, and I apply that in my builds, apply when I come here, and that's why I talk about it, and that's why I let you guys know my process, my thinking, and how my mind is working as we're building at the same time. What am I thinking as I'm doing this, and why this is important, because this is going to attach to the next thing. So, and I don't want to work on something, and then when I get to that point and I'll be like, Moxie, this is what I'm going to do. And she's like, oh no, I want it to be open, because eventually I want to be able to see. The good thing is, at the very end, this outline that we made, at the moment, let's say on the future, she makes something on the side and you want to be able to view it from this angle and look down, then all we need to do is cut down the trees. We got the fence, we just we can change combo bushes, just do something else different, and you can enjoy the view. But for now, since this is just a standalone build, nothing on the side, so we are gonna close it off so it can look more private. And it just feels very green and very secluded, and I think that feeling that we managed to make in this build is really good, and I think that's part of what made this build very more excellent and came out a lot better than I thought it was gonna come out. So, and it's funny, you know, you get to those points that you're like, oh wow, this build came out even better than I pictured, you know. But it's part of the teamwork, it's part of working with Moxie, working and listening some part of the chat and seeing the suggestion, and then let the build keep evolving into this point that we managed to build. Okay, so as you saw a little bit what I was just talking there, we're working on the fences on the front. So instead of keeping the same sequence that we have on the fence between the hedges and the iron fence inside where you see the water falling down, on the outside it's going to be the opposite. It's going to be 1 iron and 2 hedges, and that just changes the pattern, and it made it more secluded, because the idea is to make it more private instead of more visually visible to see outside. But we still wanted to bring the iron fence into the build. So once we decided, Moxie went, she's gonna create more of the iron fence that we're gonna need to finish this area. And what we're doing now is, as she's working on that, I'm working on the little lily pad, because part of the original idea, part of this design, when me and Moxie started talking, is she loved my lily pond garden, right? She liked the look, she liked how that feel, and then in one of her stream, I mentioned, hey, this could look good in front of your museum if your blog, if you needed something, and she liked that idea. And then she, you know, we were joking in the chat, and she's like, you know, Jersey, you should come in and help me and do it. And I was like, you know what, I think that sounds very fun. You know, I've been collabing with other creators, so I think it's time that I go with Moxie. And then I looked at my schedule, we picked a day that was gonna work, and then we picked the day out, and it was about 2 weeks out, right? So I had time to think of the build, start gathering all the resources that I was gonna need just for Moxie, just to help her out, and then I had time to also think of something a little more creative, a little more, you know, instead of bringing something and duplicate it, I wanted to have something more special, more different, more unique into Moxie, and I can play around with a new idea, a new build, you know. And I think having that freedom to be able to create something new with the same main idea that Moxie had, you know, and how everything started, but then we evolve it to what we have here right now. It was truly so fun, you know, and I'm grateful once again, Moxie, I'm so grateful that you let me be as creative, as, you know, try new ideas, try new designs that been in my mind, that I'm not being able to do it on my island just yet, because, you know, when I'm working on my island, working on my builds, you know, sometimes I gotta work them that fits the structure that I'm building, you know, and I know people love them, but here I can be a little more creative. I'll create something different at the moment that will look and to have that freedom, you know, but at the same time, working with Moxie, making sure that we're doing is something that she likes, that she also can envision in her island. And that challenge, to work in that particular challenge way, as a creator, as a fellow creator, as a fellow designer, working again with another person that also has their own taste, her own views, her own unique way to approach it, it makes me a better builder, because I'm learning from her and understanding another way to approach and build and to decorate. And again, it's fun. It's just, I just had the best time. Okay, so now we're working on the entrance. So as Moxie is doing the fencing, doing that. You see her in the background over there. She's now duplicating what the tree line on one side. She's gonna be doing it on the other side. I kind of want to work a little bit more on the front. Start getting the front more together, more into shape. Because it's important to have a good entrance in this build, because it's already grand, right? Look at this. It's falling into place. The greenery is working. So now we need to keep working on the side. So as she's doing that, and that was such great help, now I can concentrate on what I'm gonna do in the front. So in the front, the idea is we're gonna make it a little more like a garden, right? We're gonna finish the tree line that we have over here, so that way in spring, when this bloom in spring, between all the green and having the purple, having the pines, having the all the other trees just growing all together, it's gonna look so fantastic, at least in the vision, right? We're not gonna be able to see that in spring yet, because we are over here in summer, and you know, but once I know it gets to spring, I think Moxie is gonna do a little tour, or do a show off in her stream how this looks in spring, because I think once it gets to spring, it's just gonna look so gorgeous. It's just gonna look so beautiful with all the flowers, with all the tones, with the purple, just everything. So, but the main idea that I had in the front is to be a little more creative, a little more elegant, you know. So we're gonna use again the lily seeds, and we're gonna use some of the tall ones. We're gonna use some of the small ones. So, and I decided to go more with the small ones in the front. And then at first I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna do this many. But then as my idea was evolving, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna alternate them. I'm gonna have a little more space in the front, and then in between them, I wanna add fencing. It's just a little more, you know, a little flair into the video, just a little bit extra design. You know, the fences are not connected. It's like, well, the fence is not connected. You can kind of walk right through it, but it's not about the connecting. It's more about the design of the look, of the feel of the build, you know. On this particular way, the fences are just there more for decorating, just more for the look of the build. So here we are. So here I'm testing out the fence just to see how this will feel, how this will look if I don't use the iron, because I have this marble fence and I built so many, all the way from when I did my lily pad garden, and then I made some more thinking I was gonna use it on the bandstand, but on the bandstand I ended up just using the iron fence. So I got all this extra, and it's been a little hard for me to use this fence to make it look good, at least in my style, right? It's just been a little hard to make it work, but I found that in the front, you know, I think I was liking it. So again, I didn't have to make the hard choice. I was like, hey, Moxie, you make the choice on this one, you know. And she ended up liking. She said she loved the marble fence, and you can hear on in chat her opinion, and it was great, because that made my decision a lot easier, because I was unsure. I didn't know if I want to use the marble or I want to use the iron. The iron would match everything else that we're doing with the cement, everything between the marble and the cement. It looked really good. But I think at the end, again, watching the replay, sometimes I need that moment. I need a day or two. Now that I can visualize it and enjoy it and looking at it right now, I think we made the right choice. I think Moxie, again, did the right choice of picking the marble, because now we're breaking up a little bit of the cement. So we're bringing some white, some green to the cement wall that we have on the back. And again, such an amazing choice, great choice. And again, everything is flowing the way Moxie is envisioning. At the same time, to me, again, it's important. To me, it's very important when I work with a fellow creator or just anybody else. If I'm coming in, it can't be just about me and just my style, because the build has to reflect part of that person's style, you know, and that person's way that they want their island to look, you know. And that's why at the end, you know, I tell Moxie, hey, at the end, you can change, you can move things around. Things that I place, change them, use another type of flower, another color. You know, a lot of the times that I'm using this is to place the idea, and then she can kind of tweak it as it comes, you know. But at the end, you know, is to me, it's always important to have the input of the person that I'm just working with. And if it's especially if it's their island, it's important to have that person put their final input in decision making, because I think that's what's gonna make the island then stand out even more. Okay, so we had this idea maybe to put a bridge right here, right? To place a bridge in this area to kind of have a little more to it, to the entrance, like you kind of go a little bit elevated and then have water in both sides, and I think that will look really good. And Moxie liked the idea and all of that. But the one thing is, after I finished the stream, right, I went to work and all that, and then I replayed the stream, and I wanted to watch it in Moxie's point of view, you know, and I just left it running while I'm working and doing other stuff, and watching it again, then I noticed that there were a couple things that I was not loving. I didn't like the bridge was right there in front of the walkway. It was a very hard entrance. It just walks in, you know. And of course, I'm being more picky. I have a style that I like. I always like a little spacing in between things, in entrances and all of that. So this is something that we're gonna change, because after the stream, you know, we said our goodbyes. Me and Moxie talked, and we decided, like, hey, can I come in tonight after work if you're still up, and let's just finish this build. You know, I think I know what I wanted to finish. I saw some things that I want to change, and she said yes. So we team up that late that night, and we just had a blast talking again, just talking about designing, talking about the experience of the stream and all of that. It was so much fun. But at the end, we made some changes, and that's gonna come soon. We're gonna see it. We're gonna see those last little changes that I do believe made the build 100% just better. It just made everything look better, you know. But that happened because I had a break. I was able to view it, and that's always what I talk about, is having that moment, that break to come back and see it, especially in final details, final changes. But here we are, we're looking at how everything's coming together, right? Before we go to the next stage, we're looking, and look at this view, look at that bandstand. It just, we didn't even plan for that, but once we saw that, I was so happy that her bandstand area, you can see it from the museum, is working out really great, and I think it just brought even more to the build. So okay, so the next thing is we gonna put all these marble benches. So, and as you can see, I put a lot of them at first, you know, I put a lot of them, I visualized this, but then as I was watching the replay, and then I was looking online looking at museum builds, real museum, but from the outside point of view, some of them do have a lot of seating, some of them don't have any seating, some of them just have few seating, very spread out. So when I watched the replay, I felt like I had way too many, and I wanted to alternate them. So that's something that we'll see that change once we come back in later that night, when we get to that portion of the video. But for the moment, you know, in this particular moment in time, as we were building, you know, I have this long walkway. So I was like, you know what? We can put benches here. We can alternate them, leave a space in between, and in the space between, we're gonna put this flower, this pot right here, and with the trees, and just start working on our tree island, just to start slowly, because now we're gonna start facing this in. We're gonna make this area feel private, no open, but we're gonna make it feel private. So then I asked Moxie, hey, what tree do you like? What do you prefer, or what you envision here? So we talk about the pines, we talk about the other one, the dark wood tree, and she shows the pine. So that's the next step. So now we're gonna plant all the pines. The pines, the good thing with the pines, they're very full, right? They really, when you plant them this close together, they make a fence, they make a wall. It's just a pine wall, and it's gonna make this area feel very just secluded, you know, very closed off to the rest of the world. And I think that helped out really well right now, because when you walk into the museum, the pines grow tall, you got this wall, and then when you walk in and you're panning the camera around, it feels like you're just in this particular building, in just this world. And I think that was great, and I like the choice of the pine. But we do have to make some fixes later, and we'll explain why. And we were able to make it work, because then the pines kind of grow in a specific way, and they grow wide and they grow big. They were doing something that me and Moxie were not liking, but we were able to fix it, we were able to adjust it, and I'll explain to that once we get to that portion of the video. Okay, so the next thing that we needed to do slowly is, the next thing I gotta work on is the lights, you know, and we talk about what kind of lamp we wanted, what was gonna look good. And we decided to go with the normal the black lamps, the one that I use more for like city. I think it's elegant. I think it's gonna go great with the marble, and that whole combination of everything is just gonna look really great. So so she went, she made some more, she dropped them right there. That you see that little bag is for the lamps. My pockets were full, I couldn't grab it at the moment, that's why I kind of left it on the floor. But now we needed to finish this fencing, just fencing the area, just so we can kind of get more of this feel, to see how everything's working together. And all this greenery with the white, with the marble bench, it was looking really, really good. But there was still something missing. And one of the other things that I wanted to do in this museum area is I still wanted to add some of the other statues, just like I did in my bandstand. I wanted to add the Freely statues. Is one of the other ones that we were missing, to kind of show off some of the new items. But I think in a museum area, having statues kind of makes sense, you know. They're elegant, they're good, they bring something to the bill. So the next thing was to decide where exactly the statues were gonna be in between all these benches, where to place them. So that's something that I need to try to figure out, right? So here also, if I remember right, during the stream, Moxie was asking questions. What was the next thing that she could do, what she could work on. And one of the things is kind of to finish this area right over here, right? The tree line that I make over here, we need to duplicate on this side. So we were trying to figure out where the tree line starts. So that's why you see us going back and forth. So I'm counting right here. Okay, it's 1, 2, and then 3. So here's where that tree is gonna go. So here's where the fence should be finishing right behind the tree, because we kind of want to make it safe, right? But then we ended up changing that fence. We ended up adding another layer to the back of the tree line, and then the fence kind of wrapped around completely. But the most important was trying to figure out where the first tree was gonna start, how the whole combination is gonna go, and then go from there. And once we I initially laid it out and find it out, then Moxie took over. From there on, she took over. She finished this whole side and looking fantastic. And then we're slowly closing out this whole tree line, right? And man, I can't wait to the end of the video. We do a whole helicopter flyby, and it looks so good. It actually looks so impressive. No, a lot of times I don't care too much about the helicopter viewing point, because it looks from up high. Sometimes they look good, but the builds always look better when you walk in, when you look at from the ground. You know, for me, the viewing of the helicopter usually is kind of to see the build, the area. Sometimes they can look nice, sometimes they may look impressive, but most of the time they don't. I find that they don't do justice to the builds. They make them look either more simple or small or something like that. But this area, for whatever reason, when we did the flyby, I was like really impressed. And maybe because the way this build is, it's up high, there's a lot going on, there's all these trees, you see the water, but it was one of the better flybys in a helicopter that I've been part of, that actually was very impressive in my opinion. You know, and I know this is a build that I'm creating, so maybe I'm talking maybe I'm hyping it up too much. But I've done a lot of flybys of my own builds, you know, and I'm never too impressed even with my own. So this one impressing me so much, I was like very happy about that. It just worked out really great. So okay, so I'm adding the last couple pines. I figure, okay, so that's the tree right there. The tree line goes down. We gotta add the pine so everything kind of feels connected. So, and then I'm adding the last couple one of this, so everything feels just right. Like everything is just finishing together. And slowly, look at this. Slowly, this build is coming together. It's working really great, falling into place. Everything it's just working nice. Okay, so the next thing is, okay, so here is when the idea of the statues. I was like, okay, we need something else. We need something, because there's gonna be very heavy in green. So I wanna bring more marble, and I think bringing statue was gonna work really great. So the next part was figuring out the right spot. How many did we need it? Do I want 3? Do I want 4? And at first, like as you see here, I put 4. We ended up taking that out. We ended up having 3, but then having 3 statues, it was not working for me. So, and then we ended up adding in the middle fountains, but then eventually they were too high. The fountains were too high. So we kind of, when I came during the night, that's something that I was talking with Moxie. I was like, you know, I like the idea, but I just feel like they're too high for the style, the design, what these fountains are supposed to be. So we ended up, the Moxie is like, what about if we lower them? And by lowering it, oh, it worked out great. It felt great. It looked good. And I can't wait till we get that portion of the video. I know I keep talking a little bit ahead of the future plans, because now all of this is a lot of detail work, right? When you get to these points of the builds, it's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of trial and error. It's like, oh, try this lamp over here, or try this statue over here. Raise this up. Go ahead and lower it. It's a lot. It's getting to that point, you know. And the best way that I can always explain, how do I know? How can you know when you get to that point of the build that you know that you got it, or you're happy, or you can leave it alone? And the best advice, again, that I can give you is you have to be happy. You know, when you place that down, if it brings a smile, if you feel happy, if you like the way they look, like you truly do, you like, don't compare to anything else. Just think about what you're doing, look at it, and you're like, oh, I like this. Then you know, then you got it, you know. Because if you're building it and the whole time you're like, oh, I don't know, it's not bringing any happiness. It's not bringing a smile to your face, you know. Then you know you still gotta, that's the key for me. I know I need to keep picking at it. I just need to keep working at it. But once you get to that point that you're like, oh, I like this, this makes me feel good, it makes you feel happy, then you got it. Then you can take a break for that moment, leave that build alone, and work on something else, and then come back the next day and then look at it again. And if it still makes you happy, then you're done. If when you come back, you look at it, oh no, I don't know, this looks off, then you got something that maybe you need to keep working and tweaking. And that's my process. Truly, it's all feeling. It's just a process of, I just want my builds to make me happy. I want this build to make Moxie happy, and that's the most important. And during the live stream, you know, you're gonna hear me asking Moxie, what do you think about this? Do you like it? And Moxie was great, because in many times she's like, oh, I don't know, I think I like it more like this, and that's what I want, you know. And that's how I know then the build is getting to a point that is really good for Moxie, because my priority in this build, it's not me, it's not that my design, and it's not that, it's Moxie. I want Moxie to be happy. That's the most important. This is her island, this is her town, this is part of her idea to add this type of build into her town. So I gotta make sure, you know, it's my job, it's my responsibility, you know, coming here as a collab partner, just to make this feel that something that Moxie, it fits her island. And I take pride in that. I take pride that I can work with another person and make something, and listen to their input, listen to their idea, and put it into paper, or into paper, or into the build, you know. And I think that's important. And here's one of those. This fountain, this big fountain, the idea to make it work, I've not been able to use it just yet in my island. I'm trying to create a cool build with it, but I felt like it could look really good here and bring something more into this front. But now bringing this fountain here was a lot of work. Yeah. And this is another thing that I will tell you, it's one of those things that you're gonna see. We're gonna take a lot of this down. We ended up cutting down trees and everything, and it's a gamble. It's a complete gamble, because you don't know if at the end you're gonna like it. But I like this process, you know. I don't mind it. And then during the live stream, I'm asking Moxie, okay, I think we can still push it, because she was liking the idea, but at the same time it was not fitting right. It was too close to one side, it was too close to the front, so we needed to keep working this is something that we need to keep working. Once I was able to place it there, you can hear in the stream, she's liking the idea. But it's not falling just perfectly. It just doesn't feel just right. So the most important part is to keep working at it. And as you can see, I'm gonna have to make compromises. I'm gonna have to cut this corner, take this tree out, make more space, and then we gotta push it one more back, just so we can have this spacing, so then we can have a good design layout. So now we're getting the space on the side. It has some breathing room. It feels good, you know, but then it's too close to the edge. And I was like, for me, I didn't like it. Talking with Moxie, she also was in the same mindset. It's like, yeah, I agree with you. This is too close to the front now. So we like how it looks from far away. We like how it looks from over here. Like you can see part of that fountain, just water just coming out. So it feels good. It fits great. You know, it's gonna give something elegant, but then we have more choices. Okay, so if we do this, most likely we gotta then repush all this tree line one more bag, we gotta readjust all of this, you know, and it's more work, you know. So as we're talking, those are some of the decisions you gotta make. If you like the idea, you wanna make it work, and at the same time, at the end, we could have hated it, and we're gonna be like, oh no, and then we gotta replan everything that we did. But at the end, I think we did something. I think we pushed again the build to a whole different level. We ended up liking it. She'd been wanting to use a fountain like this, to use it in somewhere in a build, and I think we ended up making it work. So now it's okay, so we got the spacing, we got the breathing room, we pushed it back and everything. So now it's deciding. So we were looking at this, we were looking maybe at seating areas. It's very popular to put seating areas in front of fountains, you know, people like that. But it felt too plain, too open for me. So I wanted to try to see what we can do. And then I had a little hard time because, you know, you guys hear it all the time, I'm a little more picky, and some of these corners inside there, they look a little harsh. And when I come back during the night and we're working off stream and we're just talking, I wanted to hide that corner with the cement where the lamps at, and hide that corner so it doesn't look too cut off and make it feel like it's complete. So we ended up doing that. We ended up like keep working at it, keep picking at it, and the end result, I think it was completely worth it. I think it worked out really great, and it gave that completed look that the build needed. So okay, so the next thing is, if it still felt a little cramped, it just felt a little tight. So it's like, okay, so the next thing is, okay, what about if we shrink the stairs, make it 2 wide instead of the 4 wide that we have, still make the entrance, still have the marble that's going to be attached, and then we can bring back the marble line in the front to make this feel a little more closed up. And then if you look at pictures of the museum, you know, the museum got like this edges of cement and stuff like that, and people use them as benches, people sit. So that was the mindset, that's what we were talking about. Just imagine that you can sit there instead of having benches, people can sit. This feels more secluded, more finished, right? It's now we have a part of the front of the building that's attached to the museum. So for me, that started feeling it much better, more completed. And now we're working on some of the decorations, some trying to fill this area to make it feel a little more finished, and that was part of the goal. But still, now the entrance to the museum feels very small, very tight, and tight is not bad, you know, depending on how you're viewing it. You know, I always need a little more breathing room. I always want a little more space. I want things to have kind of their own space so you can walk around, so it can make sense. Because in my mind, I'm always approaching many things in a realistic kind of way. So it does kind of sometimes like I need that space, you know, and it lingers there. So that's why I always say in my builds, I'm a little more picky. I'm a little more, you know, I use more space than maybe I need to, you know, for some of my builds. And some people may be looking at it like, you know, he could have just put that there. It still looks good, and you don't need all this space. But here, as you're seeing, I'm planting some of the bushes. I want to hide part of this corner with this, with the bushes. I want them to grow. I wanted to kind of hide this harsh corner right over here. But we do a better job when it comes when I come back after the stream. I come back that night and just really work with Moxie, and we were able to concentrate, and I think we came up with a really cool design at the end that it looks really good, that it hides that, but it makes the museum feel complete. And when we got to that point, it was just very exciting. It's just, you know, those final details, I do feel like they're so important in a build, you know. And sometimes you gotta come back 1 day, 2 days, maybe 3 days later to keep peeking at it, you know. That way you feel like it's complete. But this view, what we managed to do right there, from looking at it from over here, is important too. That's why we come back over here, and we come back, we are looking at it, we're seeing it just to see how it looks. Because when people come into Moxie's Island, they're gonna come over here. This is gonna be one of the first things that they're gonna see, is that viewing, that whoa. And it's important to have that just right. So okay, so we're back. So this is now off stream, you know. We say our goodbyes. I come back the following night, and I'm seeing how everything has grown. What Moxie has been able to do off camera, just finishing the tree lines, adding the extra lights that we needed to add, some of the bushes that we were missing, and then she's been doing a little bit of a take on adding more the statues on the back. She was trying to find another one. And well, as we did that, I went ahead and hit the ground running. You know, we talked. We were talking as we were building. You know, because it's late at night. Moxie stayed up a little late past her normal sleeping time because, you know, we both kind of wanted to have this done, you know, and we had our mindset to have this done, and yeah, it was just fun, you know. We were able to talk once again, talk about designing, talk about the string, and just really have a really nice chat, just talking about Dinkum, just talking about the community, just talking about everything, and also talking about what the last details that we need and things that I saw when I was rewatching the stream. You know, I was letting her know that, yeah, I put the stream in the background. I just kept glancing at it, and there were things that were, I feel like we can do better in the final details to make this build feel more complete. And as we were talking about that, you know, we were bouncing back and forth ideas, and then we went ahead and started working at it. So the first one was this, just finishing the back. We needed to finish this. We needed to put the remaining of the fencing on the back here, so it kind of feels complete, right? So when you're looking at it and you're seeing through it, you see a fence, you see a finished thing, just like we have in the rest of the island, the museum. Because if not, when you look at the background, it just looks like a cliff, right? But if you put the fence, it's gonna feel finished. So the other thing that I noticed right away when I was here is the pines is giving the effect that we want, right? Look at it. It's creating that wall, you know? So you feel now you're secluded here. You're in this build. But the pines were overtaking all the statues. And I was like, oh, I don't like that. It just, you know, look at that. Some of them are completely hidden. Now, if you like it, and if you like that look, that's great, you know? And the other thing that I was talking with Moxie is that I feel like I put way too many benches. So the first thing that I did is I took benches off from the ones that were in front of the statues, right? I took those off. I like the feel of it better. It just feels a little more space. And because I took those benches off, I was like, you know what? What if I bring this forward now? And I want to see what Moxie thinks. I think this could fix the problem. You know, we don't have to replace the pine tree, because we were thinking, well, if the pine trees are overtaking this area, then maybe we can use another type of tree. That would have been like the next option to do. But I was like, you know what? If I took the bench and I bring this forward, it still looks good. It doesn't overtake the walkway. And now we have something in between the benches. We got more space. And I wanted to see what she thinks. So she came in, she looked at it, and we agreed. We both agreed. She liked the idea. She liked how everything was looking. And that was then the one quick fix that we did for this. And I think I did help. And we were able to keep the pine wall to make this area, when you walk up here, you feel like you're secluded. You know, it's just this build. All you see is this build. You're not concentrating on what's on the background, because that's not the point of the build. It's not a viewing point. You want to enjoy the museum and the area. So we fixed one side, we're gonna fix the other side. And then as I was fixing this is when we were talking about the whole those water fountains, that at first, you know, I didn't want to put another statues, but I did feel like we needed something there. So I ended up putting the two smaller fountains, and I was like, okay, you know, this could look cool. But as I was watching the replay, I was like, I don't know, for me they might be too tall, and maybe I don't know, maybe we should put something else, because I still wanted the marble pillar. I just felt like the marble pillar, putting it in 3 looks really good, you know, and that was me in my mindset. So, but the Mox is like, what about if we bring it down? And I wasn't sure myself. I was like, I don't know, because then all the pillars are not the same, they're right height, and that's what I'm thinking. But Moxie went ahead and did a test, brought it down, and guys, I was like, oh, this flows so well, because now, not that we need all the pillars, the marble pillars, to be the same height, but now we got height variation. We got 2 statues, and then we got the fountains a little low, and it worked out so great. So the other thing is that we had, that I was not enjoying when I was watching the replay back, is we have 4 of the freely lizard statues. So I was like, you know what? I think that's too much. What we don't alternate, and we put a kangaroo on one corner, kangaroo on the other corner, and just alternate them. And that worked out great. And then at the end, she can change any of the statues. She can put whatever she wants. And if you're following this build and you're getting inspired and you want to do this build, then guys, do whatever you want when it comes to the statues. Or if you want to put something else in his place, or maybe you don't want statues and you want something else. So and that's great. So the other thing that I noticed for me, I was like, you know, this build is very colorful, has a lot of greenery, a lot of flowers. I like the stairs. They look good, but at the same time, they felt a little plain. So I was just playing. This could be over the top for some people, and for other people, it could be just right. And I like these pots right here because they're still cement. Looks good with the cement, and it kind of gives a little extra shape, right, to the stairs. Just a little bit more, and it looks very good because we got this entrance with all the hibiscus, all the colors, all the flowers, and just having like more flowers. I felt like it was gonna bring something better. And what I did, I alternated. I added more white this time to break up a little bit more of the color. Adding the white, I think white is elegant. It just looks good, flows very well, and I added some blue. And that was my take. Then the other thing is we talk about the bridge. I think she felt the same thing that I felt when I was watching the replay. I just didn't have enough spacing. It felt too cramped as an entrance. So what we did a lamp bridge. We did it with marble. We added the cement steps to keep that cement marble look that we're going with all the stone lamps, with the cement stairs. And I fell in love. I mean, this lamp bridge, and she did it so quickly. It looks so good. The water next to it. We get that little high elevation because the whole idea is to have a little step. You know, you go step, you feel like you're a little higher. It just gives it that feel, that look, and it looks wonderful, looks elegant. It matches the entrance, and now I feel like we have an entrance. Like you got your walkway, one square, and then you go in, and it just felt so good. So the other thing that we wanted was some trash cans. So Moxie went, built some trash cans just to add little trash cans to this build. It makes sense, give us another item that we can play with, bring a little more decorating into this area. And then that worked out great. So now we were thinking about filling up these empty spaces over here, what we wanted to do, what we wanted to add. So we were trying different things, different ideas, because it looked a little off, like it was not finished for some reason. It just felt like it wasn't finished. So I think the decision what we made was to use the small lily seed again to make a little bush right there. So she went and got those. She went ahead and planted those, and that started working really well. So then the next thing was, because it was me, I think Moxie was fine, but me, I was like, these corners of the museum, they just feel like incomplete, like you're just gonna fall off. They don't feel finished. They don't feel like it's just well done. So I was completely blank. I honestly, I didn't know because the space is so limited. So Mox is like, what about if we wrap this around in this little corner like this? And you see me, I went down, I was like, this looks great. Because now from the bottom view, it's looking finished. It's just looking like, it's not just a hard edge. And the marble went great. And then having that little piece of cement, the whole combination for me, truly for me, marble, cement, green, it looks really well depending how you balance it out. So I'm very happy. And this idea that Moxie came, it was already helping me. I was like, okay, this is looking great. So I brought these columns. I got so many columns that I've gathered, that I was planning to use in different builds, and I can never make them work. So I got plenty. So I brought them over. I got them over here, and I started to mess around with it, but I couldn't find a good place to see how this will look, how this will go. So let's do another test. Let's bring here. That didn't look good. It's blocking too much of the cement. Maybe if I put them down. So I was thinking maybe stacking them in a tier and in a whole different way. Then I was thinking, oh, we can put them on the side. So the Mox is like, what about if you put it where we got the lamp, and then we rework the lamp. And then she brought the stone lamps again and put them there, and I love that idea. We put this, now we're blocking that whole arch. We put the hibiscus on the top. Now we have a level system on the side. So we start with the hibiscus. We're gonna start with a small lily pad bush. Then we got the big one. Then we got the hibiscus, and then we got something else on the top. And then we have this tier of greenery going up. And guys, I was just like, Moxie, you did it. This is what the build needed. This is how we're gonna finish it. See, and when you look on the side, it looks finished. And all we did was hiding the imperfection with greenery, and that worked out so great, especially for me. You know, and like I always say in every video, I'm more picky. I'm very picky, maybe more picky than I need to be, and that's just me. But for me, it just brought me that joy that I needed to feel of this build, you know. But if Moxie ever liked it the other way, I would have been fine, because at the end, this is her island, right? But it worked out so great. Those little Moxie little details at the end, you know, it was just fantastic, and it worked out so great. So the other thing is just adding in between this green here, because it was so heavy in green and yellow, you know, I wanted to add white, just a little bit of white, add a little flowers, and also that will help for not grass just to grow there, unless you wanted the grass to grow. But I think the white, it's gonna look so good. It's just gonna bring something to it. It's gonna go great with the marble. We already got white and green going on here, so, and it's just another thing to look at in between everything. And it's just, she liked the idea too. And Moxie, hey, feel free, if you want another color, go ahead and change it. That's just fine. Don't forget, this is your build at the end. Do all the changes that you need to, but right now it's just everything was looking good. So we were everything that we're doing, right, it's just final little details, adding flowers over here, adding this. We noticed that we forgot to add a little edge over here of the green moss path, the mossy path, because that is gonna complete the edge that we're going around also on the top. So it just feels right. And then we're gonna do the same thing, just one here in the front of the stairs, because you know it's the edging, and we have that edging going on all around on the top part. So we want that to feel like it's connected to all of that. And then just those little details, all those details that come together that make the build just great. And then we notice that we forgot to put passing underneath the stairs. So that's the next thing we're gonna do. We're gonna fix it. Moxie had the great idea to put all marble in the land bridge, and that's just excellent. And then we went ahead and put cement under the cement steps. But on the land bridge, I think it just gives it that look, that white and the water. It's just everything. It just looks so great. But then here we are doing the final walk. We're gonna see how everything turned out. I think this build truly came out better than I had planned, better than I had already imagined in my mind. And all of that came because talking with Moxie, talking with her, just having her input and trying to build something that is also in her style. And it's a combination of two, you know. It's a jersey build with Moxie input design all mixed into one, and it's great. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to come here in a way, you know, experiment. She let me do something that I haven't done yet, that nobody has seen. But this viewing, this area, you know, is just sitting there looking at the museum. Look at how everything is turning out, just all the detail. And when you're walking it, you really feel that you're secluded, that you're safe, that this is just this build. It's meant to be view, not to concentrate on anything else as you're walking this area. You know, the fountains look great. I was able to finally use them and make them work in such a way. I think the museum came out elegant, but at the same time, it's not just so elegant, you know, just overdone. Even John came to visit because he's like, I need to see this. And, you know, and I think he went in there and he was kind of mad. It's like, why you get this bill? Where's my bill? You know, I think he's probably went in there and had some words, because I don't think he's happy that we made such an amazing bill, you know, for the museum area. I think he's a little jealous. But look at this view. Look at this area. It's just truly, guys, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. My museum doesn't even look like this. You know, I need to up my game in my island now. You know, Moxie, you know, like I said again, I'm so grateful that you let me come in, let me do this, do something creative, just to experiment, and just being part of your stream and your community. It was so much fun, you know, and I can't wait so we can do something like this again, do another team up, just to bring other ideas and just to keep pushing Dinkum, you know. I love this build. This is going to be one of my favorite builds, and it's not even in my island. But look at this view, and this is what I say. I like the helicopter viewing. Sometimes they give you something, sometimes they look simple, but there was something about this, seeing this from the air, seeing the depths as the water goes down, and just feeling that whole pine wall, just surrounding this area. It just feels so great, and I hope that all of you are getting inspiration, are getting inspired to try something like this. Maybe you want to imitate it to the very last detail. Maybe you do half of this build, or you imitate part of it and do your own spin of it. And let me know. Tag Moxie, tag me on, and let us see it, because I want to see what you guys do after seeing this. I think it's just gonna be amazing seeing all of you creating amazing things. And Moxie, once again, thank you so much for having me over, to giving me a blank canvas to create something with you that turned out to be just amazing. So guys, we made it to the end of the video. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit a like, subscribe if you wanna see more videos, and we'll see you next time. Alright guys, see you later. Bye.